Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three in.
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you again, of course, live from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope you're having a great start to your week, had a great weekend, and I hope we can get you headed in that right direction. Of course, brought to you by our great friends at Andy Moore Honda, number one Honda dealer around. And, of course, Endeavor Hospitality, the Wow Club, full of their great restaurants and partners throughout Cabello, Feast Market, BB's Market. Of course, you've got Metalworks Brewery now, the Courtroom, Southern Stone, where you find the AU Football Coaches Show, all kinds of great things that we'll be talking about. Man, I still had a fun time out there Friday. That was a blast, and I look forward to that. How's everybody doing? Monday after a big weekend. Hello, Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com with us as always. How are you?
I am. I'm doing well. A big weekend. Some scary things. Some not so fun things. I got attacked by a snake. The Colts look like garbage. Indiana got a win against all odds. So a very active and exciting weekend all across the board.
Well, guess where we're starting?
Okay, so I was walking the dog on Sunday morning. This would have been yesterday morning. And where I live, I'm located on a golf course, and there's a long sidewalk that leads you from back where I live all the way up to the main road. And all along this sidewalk are a bunch of houses. In between the houses and the sidewalk are well-kept, like yard work, bushes, all that stuff. And I mean, it's right up against the sidewalk. So I'm walking the dog, minding my own business, mind you, not intimidating in the least bit fashion, when all of a sudden there's a snake slithering on the ground, jumps straight up, vertical, into my face, and then lands in the bushes beside me. I mean, that thing had I don't know if you guys have seen the Disney version of Robin Hood, but when that snake has turns I don't know if the snake has a tail because the whole thing's a tail, but turns its latter half of the tail into a helicopter, that's what it was like. I mean, the snake jumped straight up into this bush. Right, I could not have moved faster. And now I'm looking for houses elsewhere. So that was my weekend
I don't know
story.
that I'm not sure that I've ever been more speechless.
I'm just telling you, I have, people say that in those moments.
How close to your face was it?
I would, in my head, it was
No, in reality.
Yeah, I know. It probably wasn't as close as I make it out to seem. It seemed like it was that far from my face. It probably wasn't that close.
God.
But it caught me by such surprise.
Shocking. Why would that catch you by surprise? That happens to me all the time.
I jumped into the middle of the road, yelled a few expletives.
And almost got hit by a car.
Almost got hit by a car. I yelled so many expletives. And then I was people say that in those moments, your life flashes before your eyes. That legitimately happened to me.
Yeah, that's no bueno, baby. I don't even, I'm shocked. Did you find out what kind of a snake it was and what kind of a snake jumps up into the air like that?
I'm not 100% certain because I'm not a snake expert, but a lot of them here are southern racers, or what I would consider a black racer. And they are very fast. They can be aggressive, but they're very good jumpers. So that's why I'm convinced. I don't know if all snakes are good jumpers.
And you
this
just
is what
said
I've been
you had
told.
and you just said that you saw one of those not too long ago.
Yeah, I have legitimately the last 2 weeks, every day I've gone outside, I have seen at least one snake. And look,
Well, the fact that you live there, that's on you.
Well, let me tell you, it's going to be a short lifespan here for me. I can promise you that. Because I used to hike in Georgia, and I saw 2 snakes over 4 years, and that's hiking, I would say probably at least twice per month.
Hey, my friend Brent Hutton here took a picture. We posted it last week. He was in Brown County. It was at his cabin. Saw a big old timber rattler. He ran over it by accident. He didn't hurt it.
It was that big?
Yeah, well, that thick, and he said, "Boy, that thing was PO'd." I'm like, "Yeah, I bet."
Oh, I'm sure.
He said he got oh man, you talk about getting one. Well, that's the way to start a day. Gee whiz, we can only go up from there.
That's right.
The Colts. What the hell?
I don't know.
The hell? I have to get this out now before Matt comes on with us Thursday, because I feel bad for Matt in a way, because he Don Fischer has done the job for 50 years. He don't give a crap. He can say whatever he wants when things go bad. Even though he works for, his employer is who he does the broadcast for mainly. Matt is not in that situation yet, so he has to be a little more genuine. But man, that's 8 straight. Is that 8 straight losses at Jacksonville?
I believe so. It's either 8 or 9, because the last time they won in Jacksonville was 2014, right? So I think you're right. I think it is 8. Man, that is
just absolutely crazy.
Here's the thing. The first possession, the Colts were driving. They got the ball first, driving, and then Matt Ryan, I don't know who he was throwing the football to, interception. And then the final or the next 4 drives to close out the half, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 5 plays. They got 1 first down. So it wasn't just like they weren't scoring. They were moving the football on Jacksonville. Like they could. And by the way, Jacksonville's defense was not good. The Colts just could not catch a pass. They couldn't run the football, couldn't do anything. It was incompetent, and that's putting it politely.
It's that loss is going to send ripple effects across this franchise, I think. And by ripple effects, I think there are going to be some kind of changes because of it.
Look who they got. Happy. No, and look at who they got next. They play the Chiefs, the Titans, and the Broncos. There's a legit chance they start 0-3. What are they? 0-1-1, 0-3-1.
Not a good start. Indiana, on the other hand, 3-0. They're and I did not have had a chance to go back and do all the research I wanted, but I want to find out what it was the amount of time they've trailed in all 4 games in the fourth quarter going into the final drive, I believe, right?
In the second half, they were leading Idaho at the end of the third quarter, I believe, right? Because they put up.
I'm talking about, but in the fourth quarter they were trailing, right?
Not to Idaho.
They didn't trail Idaho in the fourth quarter. They scored 5 touchdowns or 5 scores in a row in the third quarter and never looked back against Idaho.
Okay, but what was the final score of the Idaho game?
30. What was it? 35-22, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they allow those late.
Yes, I think they've been trailing at halftime of every game, right? I think that part's true.
So there's that. But I'm talking about the real games, the D1,
yes.
Idaho, even though it was a difficult game, was not an FBS game. The 2 FBS Football Bowl championship games, they were trailing. with less than 5 minutes to go, I think.
Yep.
That in and of itself is something I can't tell you how long it has been since I've seen an Indiana football team that can do just that right there.
Yeah.
That can be trailing in a game and do everything they need to do to get down, score, get a 2-point conversion sometimes, whatever. Now, this one was not pretty because they looked like they were doing everything possible to make the kick for Charles Campbell as difficult as possible.
Yes.
A little bit on the play calling, but I think that there was just a mistake on one of the plays where he took the sack. I don't know what happened on that. I've rewatched it, but yeah, they've been a good second half offensive team. Other than that series, overtime, which was critical, you just have to thank Charles Campbell because the offense did dick in overtime. No,
right.
Seriously. But overall, they were a much improved offensive team. The running game is still a big concern, and I asked Tom about that after the game, but he's more after the game, and I wish I wouldn't even ask that question now, but someone asked what I was going to ask right before me. But because he just wants to focus on the positive after a win,
right?
Which is good, but offensively, this team can move the ball, without question, and I think that they can, for the most part, get around their lack of a running game until they get inside the 10-yard line. Once you're inside the 10-yard line, you have to be able to run the ball at some point. Once the schedule, you're not playing Idaho anymore. You're not playing even tag on it.
Western Kentucky.
Who is a really good team. Who's a really good team. So it's just going to get more difficult. There are going to have to find. There's no point in saying find a way to. You don't find a way to run the ball. You either can do it or you can't. I'm just so shocked. They've done a decent job at protecting the quarterback, and they gave up a couple sacks the other day, but.
Well, I think Walt Bell's offense is designed to get the ball out of Connor Bazelak's hands pretty quickly. So I think that's part of the reason why it, quote unquote, looks better. But look, here's real quick before I know we got to go to break to get Don Fischer on here. But 120 yards, 35 carries, 3.4 yards per carry. That's not great. But I think considering how bad Indiana ran the ball last year, if you can get that consistently with Walt Bell's offense and the extension of the run game with those short screen passes and dump off passes, I think that's good enough to win some games in the Big Ten.
Let's take a break. So we're ready when the voice of the Hoosiers comes on with us, Don Fischer. We're brought to you by our good friends from Goteen, all part of the WOW Club. Make sure you reach out, and you can get Goteen by ordering it separately or going to places like BB's Market to get it. For a limited time only, Goteen, a delicious, healthier snack that helps you going, is offering a Hoosier pack. This 16-count Goteen can be any of your favorite flavors, and they are amazing. I finished off my last ones last night. It's only $15, and if you purchase the Hoosier pack, sweeten the deal, mention COYLE10, COYLE10. You can go to GoteenBites.com. That's just like protein, but Goteen. GOTEINBITES. GoteenBites.com. While supplies last. It's what the Hoosier athletes use for certain. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with the man, Don Fischer, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Good morning, Don Fischer.
Guys, how are you?
Good. How's the old ticker these days?
Well, I'm glad that I don't have heart issues.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're giving you games to do that in.
I mean, it's been a pretty amazing 3 games thus far, to say the least. Don't know what to think. I mean, I don't think anybody does at this juncture. How do you decipher whether this team's any good or not, or
because they very well could be 0-3.
I said that I had to make a prediction last week for the Hoosier.com, and I said this game is the game that's going to tell us that. Okay, this week I'm going to say, okay, this game
this is the game.
Is the game that's going to tell us that.
Right. Exactly.
Oh man, Cincinnati's tough.
Yes, they are.
The opening line started off at 8.5 and already leaped up to 15.
What?
In favor of Cincinnati?
Yes.
I don't know if Cincinnati's that good.
That is an unbelievable jump as well.
Somebody likes a Cincinnati. Somebody's betting the snot out of them.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
Well, Miami of Ohio might not be that bad, I guess. They played Kentucky tough.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big challenge for Indiana. Here's my biggest concern, because honestly, I just don't think the defense has played nearly as good as we thought that they would be at this point.
The tackling is still terrible.
Right. I mean, there are just too many missed tackles. They talk about they're missing their run fits or they're making mistakes in their run fits and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going, hey, most of these guys have played. I mean, you got CO and you got DeMarcus Elliott. Those guys inside have played a ton for Indiana. Obviously, the outside guys, Tevis is supposed to be a really good player, and obviously he's talented. But I just don't know. There's been no consistency in the ability to stop the run. That Robichaud kid went nuts on us, and he's the third running back for them for Western Kentucky. That's what concerns me more than the offense. I know the offense is going to have its struggles, especially with the offensive line
15
when they have to go up against big time players. It's going to be different, but you still feel like the offense has got a chance to move it.
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
We should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio with you, and the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, joins us, brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant, where each Wednesday night at 7:05 you can find Inside Indiana with Coach Tom Allen and Fish hosting right there. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Good. I hope that you're staying in great shape and keeping the heart up, because I started to try to find a catchy name for this team, the Cardiac Hoosiers, but that doesn't go very well. But, man, they have certainly been giving everyone a cardiac challenge at the end of these games.
Well, that's the good news, because prior to the end of the ball games, it's been a challenge just to stay upbeat about how they're playing.
Or stay up.
Yeah. I mean, it's been an interesting 3 ball games, to say the least. And I think we're all in the same boat here. We all don't know what we can actually think about this football team at this point. I guess the one thing you can say, and truly is a positive, has been how tough they've been at the end of ball games, how much confidence they must have in their ability to play and get things done at the end of ball games. A great part of that has to do with Connor Bazelak's calmness and his ability to run this offense, especially when the game is on the line. He showed that twice now out of 3 ball games. And actually, you could say he did the same thing after playing horribly in the first half against Idaho. And then he goes 10 for 12 in the third quarter, and Indiana scores 29 points with no answer from Idaho at that point. So all I can say at this juncture about this football team is they make it exciting, and it's great for broadcasts.
Oh, I can admit. Now, one good thing I did say is I'm not accustomed to seeing an Indiana team do this, to be able to do what they did against Illinois, to do what they did against Western, those final drives, and to finish them off. Usually there's a call, there's a play, there's always something, whatever. But okay, I'm like, well, who knows? It's going their way. Maybe that's good news going forward. But the bad news is the schedule is going to get much stiffer, and that starts this next week with the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Well, Cincinnati is going to be their toughest test by far to date. Cincinnati gave Arkansas a ranked team in the top 25 at the first game of the year, played them to a touchdown. Actually could have won the game based on what I've been told.
Should have won the game. Yeah. They beat themselves.
So and apparently against Miami this past week, again they had the penalty problems and made some mistakes that were very costly, and yet they were able to win the game going away at the end, even though they got down early. With I guess they gave up a fumble, and I can't remember what else they did, but they struggled a little bit, turned the ball over. So, but Cincinnati's a team that, well, they make the playoffs last year, so it tells you all you need to know. Yeah, they graduated a bunch of guys, and a bunch of guys went to the NFL from their program, but they just retooled. They haven't had to rebuild. Luke Fickell has done a remarkable job there of building the Cincinnati program into a power, and they showed that last year. And in my opinion, they've showed that in the first 3 games this year. So this is going to be a huge challenge for this Indiana football team, and it's going to take Indiana's easily their best performance of the year to win it.
And Don, I look back to the 2019 season, and you look at Indiana this year and 2019 Minnesota. The way that team won some games, they had to scratch and claw and fight to beat South Dakota State, Fresno State, and Georgia Southern. That team went on to win 11 ball games. I'm not saying Indiana's an 11-win team this year, but I think that even though the competition has not been great, I think there is something to be said for the way they are winning ball games, to look at the scoreboard, to trail Western Kentucky by a couple touchdowns, to trail Illinois and not have the offense move all game, to play so poorly in the first half against Idaho, to have that sort of camaraderie and that team chemistry to fight against all odds. In my opinion, the football maybe doesn't look great at all times for a full 60 minutes, but I think there is something to be said for how they are coming together in the critical moments of these football games and finding 3 wins.
There's no question. I think that's the most encouraging thing about this football team is the mental frame of mind that they've got. And you got to give Tom Allen credit for that. Tom Allen and the coaching staff have gotten these guys believing that, hey, it doesn't matter what the score is, we've got a chance, and we can win. They've proven to themselves they can win. That is probably as important a thing as anything about any team. You got to have that belief. You got to believe you can get it done. And then to prove it to yourself just enhances that belief and that confidence level. So right now, I think this team is riding high in that vein. But Cincinnati is going to be a challenge that will dictate one way or the other just where they're going to go the next couple of ball games, because I think they can beat Cincinnati. I think they can beat Nebraska. Those are 5 straight wins if they get them to go into the rest of the Big Ten season. You're 1 game away from bowl eligibility already. And not that that's the ultimate goal, because the ultimate goal is to win a Big Ten championship, but you can't get there until you win. And you've got to win. We've won 3 in a row. I mean, that's the most important factor involved in this season at this point is the record. 3-0 at this juncture, and nobody thought they'd be 3-0, or probably very few people thought they'd be 3-0 at this point.
Another thing, Don, I agree with you absolutely. Not after starting the season with a conference team, but 12 receivers caught a ball in this game. 12. that I can't tell people how that's a large number to even target that many guys. But you had people like James Bamba catch their first pass ever in a collegiate game. Aaron Steinfeld catching his first catch in a collegiate game as freshman. But from Cam Camper to DJ Matthews, Emory Simmons, even getting the running backs and Donovan McCulley involved, it was nice to see Josh Henderson. And Josh Henderson is quickly becoming, to me, the feature back for Indiana. But the receiving, the fact that you have that many targets to throw to, that gives Indiana a little bit to play with.
Well, there's no question. I still question the run game because of the offensive line. That's where I think this team is vulnerable, if there is such a thing as vulnerability in the offense right now. I think the passing game has been phenomenal. I mean, Baselak has been tremendous. I mean, you can say what you want to about the first half of the Idaho ball game, and he couldn't find, but the rain and all that kind of thing probably had something to do with that. And granted, it's like that for both teams, and I understand all those excuses and reasons and all those kind of things. But the fact that he came back in the second half and goes 10 for 12 leads this team on a 29 straight point run. Before they gave up a couple easy touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but they won that ball game going away. They dominated the second half of that contest. I really feel good about the passing game, but you got to have some balance. You've got to be able to run the football, and they were able to do that this past week against a lesser offensive or defensive line than Indiana's going to face on Saturday. Cincinnati's going to test this team, in my opinion, in every way that they haven't been tested up to this point, and that's going to be the challenge.
Well, and I just wanted to ask Don, because I look at how poorly this team ran the football last season, and it hasn't been great so far this season. I mean, I know they ran the ball really well against Idaho, as they should, but you look at this stat column, it's not great. 120 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. I think with Walt Bell's extension of the run game, those bubble screens, getting the ball out of Connor Baselak's hands, do you think that is good enough to win some Big Ten football games? It's not a great stat line, admittedly, but I think it's just enough of a threat to where, as you were just saying, it at least gives them some sort of balance where you have to plan for it.
You have to. That's the key. Yeah, be able to run the football as effectively as you need to run it.
Yeah,
that keeps everybody a little bit more honest, because if all you can do is pass the ball, they're going to figure that out. And trust me, the Big Ten teams, they've all got the personnel to figure it out and stop it. So they've got to be able to run it somewhat effectively. It don't have to be perfect, but they've got to be able to have a threat there. And I think Shivers gives them the big play threat because of his speed, his quickness, and his ability to shift and move. Henderson's a little bit more the power back, it looks like to me at this point. And I really liked what I saw from him this past week. And he's a guy who can break tackles, and he does a really good job of that. He showed that this past week, I thought, with his running ability. So I don't know if he's going to be the feature back, but I guarantee you this, he's going to be a factor if he stays healthy. And that's the whole thing with this whole football team right now. Health is really critical for this ball club. Bamba, I don't know what his status is. We'll find out probably more today about his injury, if it was that serious or not. I hope not. But they've been pretty injury-free up to this point, too. That's really helped them as well. So at this juncture, all you really need to know is that Indiana's 3-0. And everybody's excited about that aspect of it. They're just not as excited about what they think about this football team right now, because they've put themselves into pretty tough spots in all three games.
Yeah, and I would never. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but man, if they were able to somehow pull out a win at Cincinnati, which that's going to be a hard chore, because Cincinnati is a very good team. They should have beaten Arkansas. They beat themselves. They had. I was watching that game. They had 4 penalties in the red zone on one trip, and I'm like, wow. But it sounds like they're still having those problems. But man, if Indiana could find that way and then go to Nebraska, where they are just reeling, and somehow get another win there in Lincoln and go 5-0, that would be the shocker beyond shockers. And then, like you said earlier, man, you got to just try to get by a Rutgers, a Maryland, a Purdue, and who knows what that would be a very, very surprising season for this football team, but it would be hugely positively as surprising.
I think that's, I mean, I don't want to get the cart before the horse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just think Cincinnati is such a critical game. And I don't even look, if Indiana got beat by Cincinnati, it's not the end of the world.
Nope.
Because you got Nebraska coming up next, which is a beatable football team. It's obvious. But at the same time, what I want to see is I want to see improvement in the areas of tackling, especially on the defensive side, stopping the run game for the other team to some degree, better than we have up to this, better than Indiana has up to this point. And I think the other thing, can the offense generate enough of their own run game to keep balance in this offense against a very good defensive football team? And I think Cincinnati is pretty good defensively.
Well, we'll certainly find out this weekend, Don. First of all, I won't forget, inducted into the Indiana University Sports Hall of Fame.
Don't.
Just that's it. Just want to mention it because I failed to mention, it's going to be, was selected. That's why I didn't want to. I failed to mention that before. I just didn't want to. But we'll wait till that actually happens. But yes, it's selected for that. Congratulations. I didn't want to forget that. But great week. The broadcast I was able to catch is a part of one for some reason. I forget why, but man, it sounds, everything's great. You and Rhett working well together. That's it's new. How's that been?
It's been good. I mean, Rhett Lewis is a really knowledgeable guy. I mean, he is football. He's steeped in football. He's like Buck. He knows the game. He understands the game. He's played the game. He works for the NFL Network, so he's around the game all the time. He does an excellent job. He is still learning radio. Radio is a little bit different than television. He's not done a lot of color He's not been a color analyst anyplace else at this point, but he sounds like he's been there. And obviously timing is a big thing with your play-by-play and your color analyst. But so far it's worked out really nicely at this juncture. And I think it's just going to get better and better as we move along.
All I keep thinking ever since I've seen Winning Time, anytime I talk about a broadcaster, have you seen that series Winning Time?
I have not.
You got to watch it. It's a great thing to watch, but the part about Chick Hearn, it's just great. He had Pat Riley as his first job with the Lakers was to be his color guy, and he'd get about 2 words in, and Chick would give him the.
Well, I think at one point Buck said that I had done this a couple times, and I can't remember doing it all that much to him because Buck was unique in himself. And
a big guy.
I haven't done it. I have not done it to Rhett. I know I haven't done it to Rhett yet. The first ball game that we did together, though, he ran into the play-by-play segment that I should have been doing several times. And we had the conversation after the ball game on a phone call. You are running me. I'm supposed to be able to set up what's going to happen here, or who's in the ball game, that kind of stuff. I said, we're into the play already, and you haven't stopped talking. but he does it. He is such a knowledgeable guy, and he's a great person as well. He's just fun to work with. And he will go down. He goes down after we've done our opening segment on our broadcast. At the very beginning, we go about 10 minutes into the pregame show. And as soon as we're done with that, he's back down on the field. He wants to see what those players are thinking, or he wants to be around it to just get a feel for the atmosphere with the players themselves and the coaching staff, that kind of thing. He's working out there all the time. He really knows what he's doing, and he's going to be a huge asset to our broadcast.
Looking forward to it, man. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Look forward to. I'll probably see you here in a little while at Tom Allen's presser.
Got a presser.
Have a trip. Have a good trip. Safe trip. Don Fischer joining us here from the broadcast. Thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you, guys. See ya.
You bet. Brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, where each Wednesday night at 7:05 you can find Inside Indiana Football with Don Fischer and Indiana football coach Tom Allen. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it, Dustin, Schutte, and myself right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out.
The Heart Attack Hoosiers.
That's about as close as
you can get.
Yeah.
The biggest sign of progress, though, is the fact that last year's team probably would have lost all 3 of these first games.
Yep, they would have.
Morning, Dustin.
Good morning, y'all.
Hey, brother, how are you?
Good, you guys. How about yourselves?
We're doing great.
Fantastic.
I tried to complain, but Dustin was tired of listening to it.
I was, yep.
So now that I'm on, you're going to complain more, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
No, sir. How was your weekend?
Good.
I mean, I'm sorry. How was your Sunday?
Good. Yeah, I was going to say. Yesterday, Saturday was all the football. Good. No. Went to a concert last night. Good times.
Oh, where'd you go?
Band called The National.
I forgot to mention, I was very fortunate. I won, or didn't win, at a golf auction, the auction, silent auctions at a golf event they had here last week. I won 2 tickets to this thing they were having in Seymour Saturday night after the game. But Mellencamp was doing an acoustic set.
Oh, wow.
So I went to that.
Nice.
Had an extra ticket that got wasted, which sucked. But
was he good?
Man, hearing John Mellencamp sing Small Town acoustic in Seymour, that was pretty good.
That's pretty special right there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I thought he did a couple, the tracks he did with Springsteen are on TTS, and I thought they were pretty good. And I was impressed. He's still,
still an artist.
Hanging in there.
If you give me a tuber, I'll get you something out of it.
Hey, you're talking about late football games. I know Indiana didn't play late this week, but you see how Iowa got delayed and didn't finish until like 1 or 2 in the morning?
Yep.
Do not mention the Iowa game to me right now. That cost me money.
I think it was 2:45 Eastern time.
That sounds right.
It was.
Yeah,
I was watching. I watched.
You stayed up?
End.
Dear God!
I watched
Oh my God!
What
it
punishment?
Was the last team.
10
it
seconds.
was the last team in my parlay to win.
Oh God.
2 weeks in a row. Wow, here we go.
Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Cost me
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Dustin Schutte joining us as always from outsider.com and Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times as well. Sir, how are you?
Doing well, Jim. How about yourself?
Cannot complain. We're just kicking it out on a Monday morning. Quarterback, it's always easy to do all that with whatever's happening, whether it's baseball or football, but particularly football, a fun weekend in the college game, not so much for the Colts. Indiana's 3-0. There was some Penn State just obliterated Auburn. The big 3 in the East are looking beastful right now. Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan are looking beastful.
They are busting people up. I mean, I think obviously Penn State was lucky to survive Purdue in the opener, basically, but they've obviously I don't want to say rebounded, but I mean they've found themselves to some degree. I mean, obviously a big piece of it is finding out their freshman running back is pretty good. Nick Singleton's just been running wild the last couple of games, and he just went crazy on Auburn. So that makes a pretty significant difference. I think they're a different team, having identified, and that you've seen that happen before. Basically, I know it's happened with many Penn State teams in the past, as I am an alum. That it's taken them a while to figure out that their freshman running back is actually their best running back. That usually takes a couple games. There's usually some senior, especially in the Paterno days. Regardless, that senior was getting, 20 carries the first game, and they were going to wait to find out. And it would take maybe a week or 2 weeks and be like, yeah, that guy's actually the fastest and most talented guy, and he needs to get the football all the time. So they figured that out. And that should make them pretty better, a lot better. But Ohio State and Michigan are looking the way I think we thought Ohio State and Michigan would look. They didn't, blow Notre Dame out, didn't look great in that game in the opener, and that looked less impressive because Notre Dame lost to Marshall, but they still beat them. And so they're, hung 70 on? It was
77.
I knew it was max somebody. So there was other interesting games on when that one was on, so I didn't really bother. But Michigan did to Connecticut what Michigan's supposed to do to Connecticut. Ohio State did to Toledo what Ohio State's supposed to do to Toledo.
But no one is supposed to go down to Auburn and put 41 up.
Yeah, Auburn might not be good though, right?
They're terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch Penn State Auburn because I think I was still writing until about 7:30. And I think that game was over by the time I had a chance to look at it. But I did. But basically the tweets tells me that no one's impressed by Auburn, basically at all. And it's mostly like, yeah, Penn State might be good, but that doesn't put them in the Ohio State Michigan realm just because they waxed Auburn. It tells you something about the state of Auburn.
Those three teams won 177-33 over the weekend.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's also, at least on Ohio State, Michigan sport, that's some scheduling, and again, just catching a break with Auburn. That was a game. I mean, you looked at, when they scheduled that series, Penn State's going to, go down to the Plains and get whooped. But Auburn done faded. They're not the team they were a couple years ago.
Michigan State, I'm not sure that I really knocking them very much. I picked Washington to win that game. I thought that was going to be a tough place to go out and play. And Michael Penix is playing well. He's got Kalen DeBoer calling his plays, and he threw for 400 yards and carved them up with that laser arm of his. And of course, they helped a little bit. But
how is Jim? What's your read on the IU fan base and how they're reacting to Michael Penix looking like Heisman Trophy caliber Michael Penix? I mean, what? How's everybody doing with that? The Twitters tell me that they're working on acceptance, I would say.
Well, you got to be happy for him.
You do, yeah. No, I think everybody is. I think that's
all it does is make you. It just goes back to make you wondering about the personnel. I mean, there is the one thought: was he completely healthy last year?
Right. I mean, there's the physical and there's the mental. And I think that's another piece to it. I think a big, when we asked Tom Allen why, basically just his thoughts on Penix deciding to transfer, he said, it was, said something about just sort of, when you have a couple injuries like that, you kind of need to change the scenery. You need to kind of go someplace else and shake that out. Because I didn't get the impression that the knee was so bad. For whatever we watched him, he certainly wasn't the same quarterback he was the previous year. But I never was thinking, man, that knee's not really fully healed. I don't remember thinking it's the knee that's the problem.
No, I don't think he was ever able to get his confidence from the start of the year. That Iowa game where he had, there was just no. And from there on, it just was a downhill slide. Never could get his confidence. He didn't have an offensive line in front of him. And so there's that.
Yeah. And skill position guys didn't perform particularly well either, but But yeah, so it has been interesting. It does seem like to your point, I do think people are behind him though. I think people are enjoying watching him and saying,
"Oh, absolutely, I am. I guarantee it." That's why I took Washington. I have complete confidence in him.
Yeah, he was magnificent. I got to watch a good bit of that game by the time I got back, and he was. I mean, throws he was making. Yep. Now he's got personnel.
Pete's watched more Husky football this season than more in his life. He's rooting for Penix. So, I think that I haven't heard anyone, as a matter of fact, not. And if I saw him, I'd say, why? That's stupid.
Yeah, I don't think everybody would be happy. There is a lot of the why couldn't we have this?
So, well, to me, because I can answer that question. Because you didn't do the things you needed to do to make your offense as best that it can be.
There's that.
Well, I was going to say,
and I'll leave that.
Dustin Schute's got a thought here. Let's let him roll here.
To me, I thought it's similar to the Peyton Ramsey situation, right? Like, I think Peyton Ramsey was a good quarterback. Everybody wished him well, but that Indiana's offense wasn't going to explode with him under center. And he went to Northwestern, and Northwestern benefited. And then that year, Michael Penix slips in, becomes the starter, and then Indiana has a really good season in 2020. So I feel like I don't know that if Michael Penix is on Indiana's roster, I don't know that he wins the job outright. I mean, I think Peyton Ramsey's going to come in at some point I think he would have. I'm telling you.
Peyton Ramsey didn't slip in. He won that job. Peyton was a great, solid quarterback.
We're getting years like mixed up here, I think.
So I think that to me, like, I think there's still everybody's going to wish him well, but I don't think Indiana's 3-0 with Michael Penix on this team. I just think that separation, Lovie Smith says this all the time, right? Sometimes divorce is good. And I think in both cases, both parties are better off because they went separate ways. I don't think there's any, I think the transfer portal is a good thing in some circumstances. And this is one of those.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. And I think that there is definitely something to be said for, to go back to divorce is good in this case. For some of these guys, they need to get to a different place. Like the new start, the mentality of the new start, I think is a very real thing that I think you're seeing. You see throughout college football. I mean, because you see the sort of the pressure that comes around. You see this narratives that get sort of constructed. I mean, I think there would at this point last season, there was a not small number of people that were saying, Tom Allen gifted Penix this job again. He likes him too much. He's given him too much of a leash, too much leeway here. He's got to make a change because he's, everybody can see he's not right. Someone's got to make a change. And so if Penix was back, you might see a similar scenario of people being like, oh, do you really want to go through that again? Is it really gonna be the same situation again? And Penix gets to go to Washington. It's a new deal. It's Kalen DeBoer, and Kalen DeBoer, I think, is going to help himself a lot. He's going to be a name within a couple of weeks that everybody I think is talking about. Not that I don't think he's ready. I don't think there's another job on the board that makes sense yet.
I do.
Do you? Go on.
I think if I'm Nebraska, I would throw a lot of money at Kalen DeBoer. I'm just saying.
I would throw it right back at them if I were Kalen DeBoer.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying he would take it. I'm not saying he would take that job.
Throw it right back at them. I would say, nope, I do not want this. Take it away. I don't care how big that number is.
I'm just saying. I think they will give him serious. If they continue to win, I think they'll give him serious consideration. I'm not saying he'll take it. I'm just saying the way he coached at Fresno State, his ties to the Midwest, what he's done at Washington in such a short amount of time, I don't know how you wouldn't consider him an option.
I mean, if you're Nebraska, I think you'd have to.
Right.
He's got to be on your list. But if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I don't like that idea at all.
Right.
I like the idea of what I can get of, you got to crack it winning the Pac-12, and
yep.
And considering that, it's not out of the question if you can go. I mean, I don't think USC is on their schedule, but if you get SC in the title game and you whip them, not small possibility that you can be that fourth team in the playoff.
Right.
Not out of the question. And so if you can
Yeah,
pull
it's a
that,
lot easier. It's certainly a lot easier path right now.
yeah, that is one of the clear spots. Now, no, exactly. I mean, there's a very real chance. I think you're looking at Georgia and Alabama. They could both run the table, play each other, and end up still both getting playoff spots. Obviously things can go a different direction. You've seen Alabama trip up against, it's usually Texas A&M. But somebody there and Alabama might have to beat Georgia to get in, but one way or another, there's still a real possibility that the two of them get in. And there's a good chance Ohio State or Michigan gets in. Whoever wins that game basically gets a third playoff spot. But it could be some of that. It could be Oklahoma. It could be, but it could be whoever wins the Pac-12.
When is the quickest the 12-team expansion could happen?
2024, 25.
Is that soon? Because would that be
wrong? I could be wrong.
It would be a lot more fun if we were talking about those multiple teams getting in without a question.
Interesting. But yes, but my point is, if I'm Kalen DeBoer and I go to the playoff, I can set my sights very much higher than on, because I just think Nebraska is a tough job. I think out of all of those legacy programs that have fallen on hard times, they've had the hardest time because so much of what they did was based on a style of play that does not exist anymore.
Right. And football is the hardest sport to rebuild because of the numbers.
You need so many people. And the other programs, for as much as they the reason they still think they have hope is they were never clung to a style of play. Michigan can win. Whether Michigan can be what Michigan used to be is a different ballgame, but every once in a while you can piece enough, put enough guys together and you really get somewhere. Same deal, I think, with Texas. Is Texas going to be what Texas believes it should be? Maybe not. Miami, USC, are those programs ever going to be what they believe they should be and be that consistently? I don't know, but they can, put a team together every decade or so that's up there. And
I think it's going to be very hard.
Nebraska is going to have a hard time being that. And if you're Kalen DeBoer, I think that's a really good way to create a sort of, stopping point for your ascension. Jim?
Yeah. I think it's just going to be really hard for them to agree with you, that maintain in football for teams that have lost or don't have that swagger, that current winning tradition like that Nebraska had for so long. Not only is it hard to get back, but it will be hard to maintain it because of the transfer portal, because of NIL, because it's harder to keep everything together. And when you're trying to build an entire football program, so many moving parts and pieces that you have to get together or replace all the time. It's like having, watching NASCAR with parts breaking left and right. But if you had to replace them nonstop, very difficult.
Yeah. They need a theory of the case. They don't have a theory, I don't think, as far as how do you win Nebraska? They had a theory of the case. Okay. And they had all kinds of pieces that came together to make that happen. They could put together massive offensive lines, go get a really big tailback, some tough defenders, and you have a national championship caliber team, and a Tommy Frazier. Or somebody along those lines, or Scott Frost or Eric Crouch, just somebody that could pull the trigger on that, on that offense that was athletic and, could make things work. And just, they have not developed a theory of the case since, they didn't play Wishbone, it was I-backs, but still that was their theory of the case and it's gone. And so they have not developed a new one, since spread football became the only thing.
All they need to do is recruit an offensive line, which they have not done under Mike Riley or Scott Frost for whatever reason. I feel like they've had the skill position players to be successful, but they did not. They, for whatever reason, in the Big Ten West, where you have to have great offensive line play to win, they refuse to recruit the offensive line. I feel like they are an offensive line away, maybe not from being like a Big Ten West contender, but a consistent bowl team at least. I agree with you. I don't think they're ever going to be that championship level team where they just run off 11 wins every year for a decade. But I think there's still a possibility that they could have a really good team, a contender in the Big Ten West, if they would just recruit the offensive line. I don't know why they're not doing it.
I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. It's not something I follow super closely, obviously. But when you think back to those teams, they had just bad offensive lineman dudes. But I mean, I wonder if it's different kinds of bodies. Like
could be.
Like Wisconsin, for instance, has like, I mean, it's just, I talked to Barry Alvarez about this once, and it's just because that's what we have. Like, walk around Wisconsin, go to a grocery store. What do you see? Massive humans. And so we have those. He's like, they're, like German descendants who are somehow 6'5", 300, and they're here. And we have so many of them, and we just have to look outside. And, I don't know if it's, Nebraska, when they were running Wishbone, it was smaller guys comparatively that were making that work. I mean, obviously, again, they weren't running Wishbone, they were running triple option. It was athletic guys that were maybe under 300, but they were getting out in space and beating people up. Do you not have the bigger dudes that you need for, spread offense football? I don't know. I'm not sure what that is, but we spent a lot of time talking about Nebraska's issues.
Let's take a quick break before Dustin has to head out for the Tom Allen presser today. Brought to you by our good friends. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore with RE/MAX and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl, at IndyHomePros.com. Or if you're down in the southern Indiana, Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison County areas, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served that community for 3 decades and can get you in the home you want. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda. Monday. I'm
Dustin, do you need to be out by 9:50?
Yeah, I'm going to call it at 9:50. So
Okay.
I'm just going to peace.
Dustin, did you get one of those at the media days?
I did not. I eschewed the media gift.
It doesn't work. Don't worry.
What is it? Is it a thing for your phone?
It's supposed to be a charger.
Oh,
I can't get the damn thing to work.
Jim, remember when he leaves, you're not breaking at 9:50. You'll break at 10. Just want to remind you ahead of time.
I will gracefully disappear.
Well, Jim can, say goodbye to you instead of just a random disappearance. But
I can Irish goodbye.
there you go.
I can Irish goodbye. Just no one will know.
Oh, I'll be damned. That's cool.
Did you get it to work?
No.
Oh.
But it does extend the I'm wondering, it has a height extender, so I'm wondering if maybe it was too low. I don't think so.
Jim, if you want any sort of basketball talk, this is your chance because we don't have Jim Reamer today. Just a heads up if you want a basketball segment.
Okie dokie.
Unless Dustin doesn't want to talk about basketball.
No, I don't know why I even cover it. No, I'm kidding. John Rothstein has them as a dark horse Final Four, guys.
Oh, boy.
What?
The hype train has begun.
That's the worst news you could have ever had for this fan base.
Oh, my God. Everybody's going to lose it. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I mean, like I said, I think they're going to be good. It's just that.
Right.
That's not a direct, like, that is the one sort of vision I've been like trying to get them to not have, in the sense
that's the thing that they can't think. They can absolutely not have that thought in their head.
Yeah, because if Sweet 16 with this team is a disappointment, they're going to be in trouble. Like, because I mean, that I think is a totally obtainable goal, and I think that something they'd have to be really proud of. If that's where they get. If this team gets Sweet 16, like, that's solid. You got to feel good about that. But the thing about it is if everybody starts thinking big, and like, you imagine that at this point, Trace is probably gone after this year. Now, we've been saying that for 3 years. But still, if he is, presumably he's gone. And if someone else makes a leap and, they get that good and goes, early, then they're going to be like, oh, well, this should have been a Final Four group.
Or get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday. Thanks a lot for joining us. Brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, part of the Wow Club. Make sure you stop by Feast. They have all of the incredible wine selection you could ever want, and some incredible gourmet sandwiches, things like calamari. Wine selection is incredible, like I said, with a sommelier on staff, located right next door to Southern Stone. Dustin Schutte with us. A little basketball. You mentioned in the break that John Rothstein has Indiana picked as his dark horse favorite, or dark horse Final Four team.
One of five dark. He's one of five. Indiana's one of five dark horses on his Final Four list.
That's a lot of dark horses.
It is, yes. Considering there are only 4 teams that actually make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all the same, yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I mean, I think it's just. I guess this was always going to be the destination here. Like, once everybody started talking about Indiana as a potential Big Ten favorite, someone was going to get this team get Final Four talk discussed, and I think obviously I think they're good, and I think what you saw in just at the Hoosier Hysterics event, tells you something basically that they are maybe a little bit better than I thought they were going to be. That there were a couple guys that are coming along. That matter. That basically, like, if you say, okay, well, if that guy is that good, then that changes your perspective a little bit. I mean, Tamar Bates looked really good, and we've been talking about Tamar Bates all offseason. So, but if Tamar Bates is a starting quality, like fringe all Big Ten guy, that raises the level. If Malik Reinow is a guy that can start, right out of the gate and make a difference, and he looks like he can, that raises the level. I mean, there are a few things that if Jalen Hood-Schifino can be a dude right out of the way, that makes a difference. But my thought was this team ought to be ranked somewhere top 15. 4 though, I mean, like you saw the kind of pressure that the 2013 team had when everybody thought they should win the whole thing, and what they went with all off season. Now, this was obviously different. I don't think anybody was pegging like Indiana had that in 2013 right after they got beat by Kentucky, like almost immediately especially after the Final Four was over, after Kentucky took it. It was like, okay, if Zeller's back, and he was, and Oladipo was obviously going to be back at that point because he hadn't made that leap yet. But it was like all off season. This is Indiana's team. This is finally what's going to be. So this group hasn't dealt with that. But you can amp up some pressure if you start talking Final Four around this group, and I think that's just a little much to put on this team. I think you ultimately, if they don't get there, you don't want a Sweet 16 for this group to be seen as a disappointment, and for the whole trajectory of the program and where it's going. I think that would be, I think, a rough deal for them. But things are possible, and I think the more that people kind of look at this roster and think, okay, well, if that guy makes a leap, and that guy makes a leap, and that guy makes a leap, then maybe they're better than we think.
Well, Travis Graff from Rivals.com, their national basketball recruiting analyst, has his list of top 10 players out. Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky, no shock there at number 1. Drew Timme from Gonzaga, obviously a great player. Armando Bacot from North Carolina. And then he's got Trace Jackson Davis in the number 4 spot, which that's top 4. He's in the top 4.
you can shuffle those 4 guys wherever. I mean, they are, I think, going to be the sort of fascinating narrative of this season is those, as I've said before, those are 4 guys that in a different basketball world are in the NBA already. But as it stands, since the NBA has devalued the back to the basket big man, and NIL money has risen so that these guys can stick around and don't have to just roll the dice on being a second round pick just to get paid. These guys are the product. This is how the winds have shifted to keep those 4 guys in college, when a lot of people, in years prior, they would have been long gone. And so they are, I think, very clearly, and I think you throw Marcus Sasser in there from Houston because he's really good, but that's just the 5 All-American.
He's number 5. He's number 5.
Yeah, those are the dudes. But those 4 big men. I mean, at first, you're going to see All-American teams that have 4 centers on it. But because those guys are going to be, gravitational forces of nature for their, for their teams, and they're both, probably all going to lead their squads pretty far. And you'll see some shuffling of that in every preseason player ranking is, it's those 4 guys again, like that have, again, would in previous years been pros long ago.
And one thing I noticed,
motivations have changed and they're sticking around. And so they're going to
both
be really
Dustins on that list, 7 out of the 10, they're all big guys.
That's why.
And most of them are 6'8", 6'9" guys with a couple of 7-footers thrown in, Hunter Dickinson and Zach Edey. And Zach Edey is just a presence. I don't know how good of a
large human
pro player he will be, but because of his size, he might be okay. But he's just a massive human that it's hard to move.
And he's got length. I mean, obviously he's got length when you're 7'4", but it's like he just has to stick his hand out when a ball comes off the glass, and he can eat, he has, without having to jump much, he has a wingspan. He there's a radius of where the ball can come off that no one else can get it but him. Basically, if he's just standing under the bucket without having to move, without having to jump, there is a wall around the paint where wherever that ball comes down, it's coming down in Zach Edey's hands. And he doesn't have to do a whole lot to score and to, get buckets and whatever. He is still, it is a pretty amazing story. I was still at the Athletic when he committed. I remember he showed up he was walking around at their version of, actually it's not even their version of Hoosier Stereo. They just have a Saturday where they have some scrimmaging, and it's live. It's not a big, there's no pyrotechnics or anything like that. It's Purdue. But they just had basically 3 scrimmages that were, live and open in West Lafayette, and went to go watch that. And Edey's walking around. He committed a week later, and I'm asking Brian Newbert, figuring he knows everything about Purdue guys. He's like, yeah, I have no idea who that is. And we found out it was Zach Edey, and we Googled him, and it was he had no picture at that point on 24/7, and it's that's one of those things that really, but you're he's huge, he's humongous. And so after he committed, I got him on the phone, and it was just amazing, his story, because he was just no, dude, because he's such a down to earth kid, and he's I saw big guys pigeonholed. Everybody wants them to play basketball, so I did not play basketball because everybody wanted me to play basketball for that very reason. That's why I stayed away from it. And then somebody dragged me out to play rec league ball in 10th grade, and I was like, wow, I'm good at this and I like it. And then he realized hockey. It's so wild to me. It's an amazing story.
It's hard. I'm sure it was he in the goal. I imagine he's in goal.
Yeah. No, he wasn't in goal. He was a defenseman. He just beat the
crowd. My God. If he's in goal, he just has to do this, and you can never even see the net.
Yeah, no, he was a defenseman. He was on skates, man. He was moving around. He could pitch.
We got to get you out of here, brother, down to Tom Allen. Dustin Schutte.
You guys.
Dustin Dopirak. Thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon. Dustin Schutte with me still. We've got more coming up here.
The difference between the guys you named in those top 5 and Zach Edey is Zach Edey is the back to the basket type of player. And what's always interesting to me is Purdue has churned out a ton of big men, but the year that they actually had a chance to go to the Final Four, do you know who their center was?
Yes. Can't think of his name. Very good.
Matt Harms.
That's was not the name I was pulling up.
Oh, the only. The point is.
The guy, the moron that transferred.
The guy who went to BYU. He was the only center they've had that can really move. And that's why they play really well in the regular season and not in the tournament. Same thing to be said for Illinois with Kofi Coburn. Great regular season team, great regular season player. But in the tournament, it's all about guard play. It's all about opening up lanes and quality shooters from all around the floor. Illinois didn't have that. Purdue didn't have that. Indiana right now, we have to see Trace Jackson Davis do it. He's way more athletic than those guys, but he's got to develop a jump shot. So that's the biggest difference. That's to me why those guys are in the top 4. It's not to say that those big men like Kofi Coburn, Zach Edey aren't great players. They are. They make a big difference. But if you're going to win at a high level in the NCAA tournament, you've got to have mobility. You got to be able to shoot from all over the floor.
Let me ask one question. Could Shaquille O'Neal shoot?
No, but that was a different style of basketball.
I'm kidding.
Oh,
he hit something like 12 of 12 free throws against Indiana in the Indiana tournament.
Did he really?
I swear, it's like the craziest stat of all time. Just
wow.
nuts. I mean, he couldn't do that
No.
then and now no matter what. But yeah, that was a nutty thing. But a lot of good basketball players playing this weekend.
Yep.
Hey guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Appreciate you guys so much. And give myself a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB, or that's it. There's no other Twitter person here. Just remembered. I remembered before I said it. You're off Twitter.
All right, here's I'm going to say something that's maybe controversial, and because I think Forrest brings up a great point. Can't predict the NCAA tournament until Selection Sunday. Matchups mean everything
for the tournament. Absolutely.
I don't look at a team and say they need to get to this round, and this includes Indiana. I don't look at a team and say they need to get to this round, this weekend of the NCAA tournament for it to be labeled a success. I don't think you don't know what those matchups are going to be. It depends on seeding. It depends on the matchup, depends on where you're playing, how well you're playing at the end of the season. Like, to me, I am far more interested in what this team does in the regular season. I think if you finish in the top 3 or 4 of the Big Ten of the regular season and you win maybe a couple games in the Big Ten tournament, or at least a game, you label it as a successful season. I don't really care what they do in the NCAA tournament.
Successful, I would call it a not unsuccessful season.
Not unsuccessful.
I don't know that I don't think I would call that a successful season for them. I would call it not unsuccessful.
Okay.
It would be maybe a little bit better than a tie.
Okay.
It's time to do something. If they want to, these recruiting wars that they don't win right now, it's simply because I've said it 1,000 times. Indiana hasn't won anything yet.
Right.
I'm not talking about the history. I'm talking about in the here and the now. They haven't won anything. That's what all kids care about. They want to go to a winner. Well, there's other things but anyway, the winning is a part of it. I don't care about the other stuff. If the winning isn't there, it doesn't really matter. So, and Indiana is on that track, but I think that track has to continue and it has to go forward and it has to get higher, and not just one step. I don't think it's not time. It's time to do something. You've got all of this talent. You have got an All-American who's listed as a top 4 player. You've got people listing you as a dark horse Final Four team, which what people say is irrelevant. But it is time for this team to step up. They have the talent. They have the talent. So it's time for them to be one of the guys. We're one of the teams you have to go through. Indiana has to be one of the teams that people have to go through in the Big Ten this year.
Do they have the talent or do they have the experience?
They have the talent.
I don't. So, okay, I'm not going to say they don't have the talent. You have to prove it to me that they have the talent, because they have the experience. There's no question about that. Trace Jackson Davis is a good player. They've got to put it all together, and they have not put it all together. They've only had 1 year under Mike Woodson. So it's hard for me to say that they have the talent right now.
I think that
we might get that figured out in the first 5 games. It may not take long to discover on my part. I'm just saying they have the experience.
We know how good of a player Trace Jackson Davis is. We know how good of a player Xavier Johnson is. I'm sold on Jalen Hood-Schifino. I've seen a lot of him. I've seen enough of him. And
okay, but those guys are, I would say those guys are good in spurts though, wouldn't you? Like, there's a lot of inconsistency with those players.
Trace? No, yes, last year, but I'm saying this is another year later. I am expecting for
You expect.
Well, if it doesn't, there's a problem.
Right, but we expected this is what I'm saying. To make this comparison, we all thought Indiana's offensive line last season could not get any worse. They had a lot of guys coming back. It looks just as bad this year as it did last year. So what I'm saying is,
but it's not worse.
I'm not saying Indiana's going to be worse. I'm just saying the reason I'm not putting Indiana into a column of you have to get to this weekend of the tournament is because I don't think, to me, they haven't proven they have a roster where you look at that and say, yes, that is definitely a team that gets to the Sweet 16 no matter what the matchup is.
This team, I don't care. I disagree. Well, I disagree.
Okay. We can agree to disagree.
In my opinion, they have to for the perception of anybody else. I don't care. It's just win, baby. It doesn't matter. You have this talent. There is no reason this team should not get past those first two games. None. I don't care what the matchup is. This team is good enough that they should be better than any of the two teams they play in those first two rounds. Now, whether that's the truth or not, that's another story, and we won't be able to know that for months.
Right.
We got to take a break. Don't want to forget our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, where you can also go each Friday to BB's Market, and they have the Friday night tailgate party or parking lot party. You can get your growlers filled up, and they have some amazing custom-made ones too. But you can stop by their location right on 6th Street, right off the square, kind of catty corner to Cabello in Bloomington. Metalworks Brewing Company, part of the WOW Network, where you need to go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, sign up, start earning WOW rewards today. And we look forward to being out at BB's again this Friday. You can start building that stuff up. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Dustin Schutte after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
What time is it?
I tell you what, I don't know if you've been looking at numbers today, live viewers, but this is the most I've seen numbers-wise in a long time. We reached the 90s a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Yep, it has been.
Is Hoosier Hysteria? That's in 3 weeks, right?
October 7th.
October 2 weeks from Friday. 2 weeks from this coming Friday.
I have to book a flight to Minneapolis.
When is Big Ten Media Days?
I don't know. I forget. Boy. Coffee boy. Go bring me some coffee. Oh, there is no coffee boy. I forgot.
Yep. Hey, fun fact, I don't know if you saw this from Zach Osterman yesterday, but Duke, North Carolina, Indiana, Kentucky, and Kansas are combined 15-0. Basketball season will have to wait a while. That's what his tweet says.
Who said that?
Zach Osterman.
Oh.
But
I can't believe game day.
For sure this week because Duke and Kansas are playing each other this week.
See, College Game Day, this is why that show pisses me off. There's no reason that show should not be at that game.
Who is it at this week?
I believe Tennessee, Florida. Like, you've been there a million times. Do something fun. I'm not saying that those two teams are juggernauts.
The best, yeah.
They could easily, one could finish 4-8 and the other 3-9. I don't care. Go places you haven't been before.
All right, here we go.
4040 or visit eaglepoint.com. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. An exceptional golf and dining experience.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday, getting your week started right. Hope everything's going well. Good looking weather. Got a little warm, but nothing to complain about. Absolutely. John C says, tell him to hit that like button. That's right. Do that. Yeah, not looking forward to that. Buying a ticket to Minneapolis. Those kind of places it's like going to Portland. Not cheap. Not cheap.
I've never been out there, so wouldn't know.
Football, trying to look. Oh, how about Washington? We talked about, mentioned it a little earlier. Yep. They get the big win over Michigan State. We didn't talk about my parlays. Let me tell you. Yes. Do you know who cost me? Iowa. Actually, it was Nevada. Nevada's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic.
Yep.
They missed a field goal early on that would have given me a push.
What? It was 24 when you put it in? Wow.
Then they give up that touchdown. I was winning until they gave up that touchdown.
When did they see? I did not stay up. I went to bed.
I hit every game I picked.
Until then, for the second week in a row.
But fortunately, this week I did 2 parlays, a 3 and a 4, and I had no carryover. There was nothing that was the same. I made damn sure of that. And because of that, I won. There we go. Where are they pop up? So there we go.
I don't even know.
Okay.
Did Nevada even sniff the red zone?
Oh God.
Oh boy. They
I picked.
So, go ahead.
I took the under in the Oklahoma-Nebraska game. Got lucky on that because as I was putting the bet in, they changed. It changed from 61.5 to 66. And it said, do you accept changes? I'm like, well, hell yeah, I accept the changes. Bam. Wow. So I got that. I took Michigan minus the 47.5, and I took Penn State minus 2.5. That was a nice little one.
Yeah.
3-leg, bam, hit it. All right. Well, 4-leg. I took Oklahoma, gave up the points. Boom. I took Maryland, gave up the points. Boom. I took the Huskies, gave up the points. Boom. I took Nevada and took the points.
Yeah, you were looking pretty good.
$1,000 payout for that parlay.
You've missed out on $3,500.
That's $3,500. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, 2 teams have cost me winnings of $3,500.
No wonder you hate bets. No wonder you hate the Big Ten West.
Hate the West. Hate the Drake.
We should continue this theme each week and see if a Big Ten West team costs you money every week.
No, we should not, because I am no longer betting on Big Ten West teams.
That's probably wise.
Except for Minnesota, and I knew I should have bet on them.
Well, timeout though. Minnesota's best receiver's hurt, And I think he's
Well,
done for the
they
year.
Covered last week.
They did well. I mean, yeah.
Eric,
Colorado
we
is
appreciate you,
awful.
man. I hope you're doing great. How are you, sir? Dave jumping on as well. Yeah, it just, man, come on. I'm seriously, think about that. 2 games, 3,500 in winnings. That's what that would have been. But with all that, I'm still positive over the 2 weeks. Plus, I'm still in the plus category.
Well, that's good.
That's winning. That's why everybody said, "Oh, don't bet, it's a sucker bet." Nope. All it takes is you hit one. I've hit 1 out of the 4, and I'm in the plus. And it was not a big one. It was, one of the 3 legs. I'm still in the plus.
And
now,
some of that stuff is like the other on. I think it had to be Saturday. Somebody hit. I don't even know what the legs were. It had to be at least a 10-team parlay. And through 8 of them, they had won a $7 bet turned into a $125,000 payout with the potential to win $1 million. One of them was the over-under on Michigan State, Washington. I believe this person cashed out. They bet the over, and I'm pretty sure the over hit in Washington, Michigan State. I cannot for the life of me remember what the last one was, though. I think it was Texas A&M, Miami.
Ooh.
But I don't remember who they picked or if it would have hit. But they cashed out at $125,000. But I mean, just
next
to turn
week, I'm going to do like
$7. Yeah. Why wouldn't you turn a $7 bet into $120,000? Gee, many Christmas.
Next week, I'm going to do. I love doing those, and I'm going to start doing more of them at just, $5, $10, because that's the thing. Yeah, they're hard to hit, but if they do, it's
and
gigantic. The risk reward is very small risk, gigantic reward.
Right.
I'm not betting. I don't bet money. I'm betting small amounts, man. I'm not and I bet the 2 things. That was it. I'm not sitting there betting every game. I've never bet on baseball. I've never bet on golf. Never. Yeah, it's not a.
I don't understand how people bet on golf. I know people do, but there may not be more. What would be the word, like inconsistent sport to bet on, or like just absolutely no clue as to who's going to win.
Let's see. How about any other big surprises in over the weekend in the NFL?
In the NFL, there were no safe. No lead was safe. I can tell you that. Cardinals or the Raiders.
I don't know what we're going to do with Matt Taylor this Thursday.
Maybe hold a therapy session for having to.
Yeah.
I mean, they got blanked. They didn't just get beat. They got shut out by Jacksonville.
How's that
possible?
How do you lose that many straight to a team that sucks that bad?
I do not know. And I'd like to point out, too, that it's not like it would be maybe one thing if the Colts played them early in the season and the weather, but last year they played them late in Jacksonville. It was the last game of the season. Like, it makes no sense that those games are scattered throughout the schedule in those years, so you can't point to one thing. I do not know, but I can tell you what. First of all, I know Michael Pittman was out, the receiver for the Colts on Sunday, so that made a difference. But I can't wait to talk to Bob Kravitz about this because their receivers were dropping easy passes. I mean,
he'll slay him. He'll slay him.
It was not pretty. And again, that very first drive, the Colts were at least moving the football. And on 3rd down, I don't know what Matt Ryan's game plan was, but it went right to a Jacksonville defender. I think he ended the day with 3 or 4 interceptions. I don't have the stat line right in front of me. But just not good on either side of the football at any point in that game.
Yeah, it's last year was really tough to swallow, that 1-3 start. This could be much worse.
It could be
because much more was expected.
Much more was expected, and I don't remember what the first 4 games were last year, but these teams
And
have
much
got to
more
be
is
worse.
demanded by Jim Irsay as well.
Right. Well, and these teams are not good. It's not like they lost to the Chiefs and the Ravens. They got beat by Houston and Jacksonville, which I think had like a combined 6 wins last year. And now you play Kansas City and division rival Tennessee at home, and then the Denver Broncos, which they're not playing well now, but I have to think that when Russell Wilson gets a little comfortable after a few games, they're going to be a problem. Like 0-4-1 is a very real possibility for the Colts if they don't figure something out.
You talk about shooting yourself in the foot. How about the Purdue Boilermakers at Syracuse? I
want to say I called that game.
55 yards in penalties in the last 51 seconds of the game.
I believe
you score a touchdown, and the guy that scored the touchdown did his best Vince McMahon imitation, and that drew a flag, which then in turn drew another flag on Jeff Brom, the head coach. So they give them 30 yards, and they go down and score a touchdown and win the game.
You've got to be smarter in that. This drives me nuts, especially among college football players. Why do you not just you understand that you're going to get a penalty? Why do you not walk off the field? And then it was even dumber for Jeff Brom to get that penalty. Like, I don't understand at what point, but I want to say that, and John can vouch for this because I said it on I said it on this show, I said it on This Week in Indiana Football, and I said it on the Eyes on Big podcast, that felt like a game. Purdue, you look down, and you think they should win and they're going to have a chance to win, and then they just inexplicably lose because of stupid penalties. Because that's just what they do under Jeff Brom. There's a bunch of games that you think they should win, and then for some reason, Nevada a few years ago, they went on the West Coast, lost that game, even though they had a late fourth quarter lead. Syracuse, there's Minnesota. They can't beat Minnesota for the life of them. So it was a great football game in terms of like the excitement, the thrill, all that stuff. But I mean, just the dumbest last minute of football I think I've ever seen. 7 penalties.
Yeah, the good thing Indiana has good for them is going into Cincinnati this week is I didn't see them play this week, but in the first week they were very similar, just not sharp. A lot of penalties from being not sharp. Now they weren't like in this case; these were stupid penalties. That 30 yards in penalties, beyond dumb. Oh my gosh!
Yes,
that gave Syracuse the ability to win that game. I mean, that doesn't happen.
And I don't know
those penalties.
And here's what drives me nuts. It's one thing for a coach if it happens in the second quarter, right? But you preach to your team, don't do anything dumb that's going to cost us the game. First of all, one of your best players did something dumb that cost you the game. When you just go to the sideline, just go to the sideline. Then, not only does one of your best players do it, then your head coach does it. So, like that loss falls on I was a little bit more sympathetic after the Penn State game because I thought Purdue couldn't run the football, so I understood passing late in that game to try to pick up a first down and seal it. Like I can understand that line of thinking, but this is 100% on Jeff Brom. That's all about coaching, and that's all about maintaining maintaining a level head, I should say. And they just, complete implosion.
I was listening to the guys on the Big Ten recap show or whatever. They were not kind.
No,
they were not kind to Jeff Brom at all, and used words like, if the head coaches would continually do things like that, I would expect him to not be a part of the team. I was like, wow. 13 penalties, 138 yards. First of all, forget about the 138 yards you lost, which is massive.
Right.
How many critical plays did that stop, march back? But how many times was your momentum stopped, cut short? whatever.
Well,
you cannot win games like that. Not that I, but
this is the thing that's crazy about it. What was the final tally again? How many did they have?
13 for 138 yards.
And again, I think it was 7 of those came on the final drive. So you look at that, 6 penalties, not great. You'd want it to be lower, but it's not like they had it was throughout the game. It wasn't like it was a consistent problem throughout the game. That last drive killed them. You don't have any penalties, and they win that game, and they're coming home 2-1.
Robert says he will repeat how many yards of IU's last TD drive came from WKU penalties. Well, but that was because they were beat. A lot of times, you're a receiver that beats a D-back. That's because he's preventing a touchdown. Is why he's grabbing them. Let me tell you, that's a rule that I hate. If pass interference 30 yards downfield should be a 30-yard penalty.
I disagree.
Well, why? Well, let me tell you, being a quarterback, the smartest thing in the world is if you're beat and tackle them, just tackle them. I don't care what you have to do. Mug them. Don't let them catch the ball because it's a 15-yard penalty versus a 50-yard touchdown.
I agree.
That's the only thing. That's the only rule where you can. It's like you have an option to say, hell, let me do that to prevent that because it's only a 15-yard penalty versus a touchdown.
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I guess you could adopt the NFL rule where it's at the spot. Is that still the NFL rule? It's at the spot of the foul. They make so many rule changes. I can't remember. But the one you still have to catch the football, and there's no guarantee you would catch the football. Like basketball's in a great position where that's what they did. The NBA did away with that. Now I'm going to lose the name of it. But basically, if they try to stop a fast break. And intentionally foul to stop the fast break, then it's an automatic technical foul. You get a free throw. You don't really have anything like that in football, so I don't know what the answer is, but it is a tough one.
We got to take a quick break. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Cabello Restaurant, a part of the WOW Network, of course, located on the square in Bloomington, where you can get a taste of Southern traditions of Southern Italy right here in Southern Indiana. Make sure you stop by and give them a visit at Cabello, located on the square. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
All right.
Good Lord. That's my to-do list for today, and it has nothing, and the Tom Allen presser is not even on it. The hell,
I can't wait for the Indiana-Cincinnati game to be 7-6 at halftime and then end 40-38.
I can really see that.
Neither team plays well in the first half.
Nope. No, it is not.
One thing I can honestly see kind of negatively affecting Indiana if they win this game, it would not surprise if Indiana beats Cincinnati. It would not surprise me if they lay an egg and somehow find a way to lose to Nebraska the following week. I can 100% see that.
They're not losing to Nebraska.
You're that confident in that right now?
Did you watch that game? I mean, they could not stop a nosebleed. That defense is awful. I mean, maybe Nebraska could. I shouldn't say they won't lose to Nebraska. There is a chance, but Indiana should be able to run, pass.
They should be, but it's Indiana though. That's the other part.
Right,
but
that's true.
who's it Nebraska got this week?
I believe they're off.
Oh, they haven't had their extra bye week yet from week 0?
Mm-mm.
You know,
No.
there is no extra bye week.
Yeah,
There
you
is
do.
for- they do.
Oh. That's why. That's
Mhm.
why they added week 0.
They get an extra bye week.
Because Illinois took theirs this past week.
Yep. And Northwestern took it right after the.
They didn't play in week 1.
They did not play in week 1. They stayed in Ireland. And then they have Nebraska's other bye week is the week before Halloween.
All right, here we go.
More. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends from Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, right off of I-65 down in southern Indiana. When you're down that way, stop in. Pizza, burgers, beer. It's incredible. Everything made fresh daily. It was a fun weekend. Great weekend. The weather was awesome. Saturday night. Did I tell you what I did Saturday night?
Other than wish you hadn't bet on Iowa? No.
No. Fortunately, I bid on this golf auction at a silent auction at a charity golf event. I bid on 2 things, and one of them I won was 2 tickets to this art thing down in Seymour, Indiana, where actually John Mellencamp, it's a property John Mellencamp owns, dedicated to the arts. Now he told the story, but he bought the home for a friend of his. But John Mellencamp did an acoustic set.
Nice.
Oh, dude.
That had to be awesome.
It was just like a white tent. So I don't know, a couple hundred people, really intimate, very cool out at a winery down there in Seymour. To hear John Mellencamp sing Small Town in Seymour, that's going to be up there for a long time. That was pretty cool. And to do it acoustic, well, he did everything he did was acoustic. It was just a pretty cool little experience, and very, very fortunate. But yeah.
And for you, you probably feel more like a part of it than you would at a concert. You know what I mean? Like if it's that kind of intimate setting, it feels like you're part of something special. Like that's really, I'm actually very jealous because I think that would be really awesome.
If I knew how awesome it would have been beforehand, I would have been jealous too, and didn't get to go. And it was fun enough that it didn't bother me as much that the other ticket didn't get used. I hate it for someone that didn't get to experience that,
Right.
So, but yeah, it was pretty fun and cool. It's just one of those cool things that it's hard to repeat.
Right.
Those opportunities don't come around very often.
Right. And it's still different than just seeing him in concert,
Oh, wait. And it reminds me of something else. Why do they not have concerts in Bloomington?
That's beyond me. I don't know. Great question.
You've got and they do have some, but I'm talking about more frequent, bigger artists. You've got a built-in audience. We've got 50,000 students here. First of all, what do you want? Country, reggae, rock? It's all covered. Right. Then the people that live in and around, that would fill in the most. I mean, there's no way that an artist that you need, say, 10,000 people for would not be that you couldn't do that all the time. I would think that you could do that all the time.
Well, if you get somebody big enough, I don't know why they don't use Memorial Stadium, right? Like
exactly.
We've seen Garth Brooks sells out Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. He sold out LSU. Like the people will go. I'm not saying Garth Brooks is the answer, but I'm just saying there are artists who will fill up those type of venues.
But he's going to go to Indianapolis if that's the case. The reason he fills up Lincoln is because there's nothing else in Nebraska.
Well, but I mean, you have a great venue for it. I'm not saying it has to be Garth Brooks. I'm just saying.
But they have Lucas Oils. That's a problem.
Do they hold concerts there?
That.
I'm legit.
Lucas
I don't.
Oil?
Yeah, I don't know. Do they?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw Guns N' Roses there.
Oh, nice. I know that they do at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. I've been to a few concerts.
It would have to be an artist that was probably like a 10,000 to maybe 15,000 seat artist. Not the 50,000, because those are all going to be in Indianapolis. They're going to be at Lucas Oil. They're going to be at Gainbridge. They're going to be at those venues, or they're going to be at the Klepich Center, or whatever the name of it is now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gone through every name. Deer Creek is what most people will remember it as, but I know that's not the name of it.
Deer Creek, Verizon, Klepich.
Yeah.
Klepich. So yeah, but there's that. But yeah, I just don't understand why not. Why I think they should just have a lot more.
I would agree.
But
I think you've got the facilities for it. I think you could have some successful concerts and shows there, but for whatever reason they don't.
No, they don't. What's everybody looking forward to this week?
Great question. Indiana, Cincinnati.
Presser today. Well, yeah, of course. That is going to be a tough game for Indiana, man.
Yeah.
It's on the road, which is not going to be in their favor. And I think Cincinnati is better than anybody they've played so far, without question.
Yes.
It's an offense that they haven't faced this year, and a defense that is okay. A defense that's pretty solid in the second half. That's for damn sure.
And an offense that puts up a lot of points in the second half. So they got to be ready for something. They have
did
to get
that
off.
last year. They did that last year too. And I don't understand that. They were a big second half team last year, second half team this year already. Indiana's been that same way.
See, and you can look at this as a lot of negatives. They're not getting off to fast starts, but it also is when you see a major change from the first half to the second half, that's also coaching adjustments. So the staff has made the proper adjustments to get wins. So I think that's another positive. We talk about them coming from behind and team chemistry and coming out fighting with backs up against the wall, but it's also an ode to the coaching because they're clearly making some second half adjustments. I'm not saying everything's working, but that when you see a stark difference between the first 30 minutes and the second, that's what that is.
We'll certainly find out. The Colts, man, don't even know where they start. So I'm not even going to bring us down with that.
How about NASCAR?
Go ahead.
Chris Busher.
First 17th different winner.
I think it's 18th.
Crazy. Another winner at Bristol.
He's in the playoffs, NASCAR playoffs. 3 different drivers not in the playoff picture have won. Eric Jones, Bubba Wallace, and now Chris Busher. How about that?
And all of the playoff guys, like a ton of them had issues at the last race at Bristol. So I think Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon got knocked out. Chase Briscoe stayed. He managed to make it to live another day
He's right on that cut line.
Hey, how about let's see? Didn't a certain team in baseball play a certain team in baseball in a recent series that just ended yesterday?
Yes, I'm sure. I don't know what we're talking about.
Both on one's on the Ohio River, one's on the Mississippi River. Cincinnati and St. Louis.
Ah, there we go. Yes. Oh, and the Reds beat them yesterday. I did not see that.
So if that was a 4-game series, they split it. But if it was a 3-game series, the Reds won that series.
No, they played a 5-game series. Is that 5?
Oh, wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it was a 5-game series. The Cardinals actually won it 3-2, 3 games to 2.
Yeah.
So they had a doubleheader on Saturday. So that's probably, and the Cardinals won both of those.
Yeah, that's how they snuck it out.
But those were close games. 3-2, 6-5, 5-1, 1-0, 3-0.
The Mets holding a 1-game lead over the Braves right now. That's going to be a fun one.
That's coming up too. Both teams play. That series should determine the NL East.
I wonder. I have a question. The San Diego Padres, 81. Yep. Race between the Padres and the Phillies, and they've jumped half a game in front of the Phillies. But if they were to make the playoffs, they're 21 games back of Los Angeles. I wonder what is the most games back a playoff team, a team that made the playoffs. What is the highest number of games back we've had? Because this number, the NL West is staggering.
It is staggering.
30, 60, 90, 100 and close to 130 games back of the 4 teams behind the Dodgers.
And that's going to be a little skewed too, because for the longest time you just had one wild card team. So, and now you've got what? 3 of them.
The AL West is not much better. Well, that's ironic.
It's kind of like each division is almost like a mirror, like the NL East is the closest race, and in the AL, that's the closest race, although the Yankees are 5.5 up, so it'd be really hard for them to squander that. But then the Central in both leagues is terrible, and then the West is no shot from either.
Michael's going to be looking forward to watching some college football in his cabin in the Smoky Mountains. Well, that doesn't sound bad at all.
Hey, Michael, I'm going to be driving up, so just let me know where that cabin is, and we'll hang out together, and I'll be there for the remainder of fall.
Are you going to be riding your snake?
Let's see. This is why I need to. I'm out of Florida.
See a picture with you all riding a snake with some reins on it. Cowboy hat.
I tell you what, that thing, it had death on its mind. I could see it in its eyes.
Wyatt heading out to Dodger Stadium to watch his Cardinals on the 23rd, then up to San Francisco for the week.
Stay safe out there, Wyatt. Those fan bases. Those fan bases are known to be a little rowdy, so be safe out there.
Heading out to Chavez Ravine. Yeah, I regret not going there when I was out there last, and so I need to that's just one place I'd like to go. It's just branded in my brain from growing up a Reds fan. They were big rivals and Vin Scully. What? Chavez Ravine. Welcome to Chavez Ravine. I can't do his voice. He's got such a smooth.
He's got it down.
Yeah, I don't even attempt him. Looking forward to seeing how the week goes. We're getting closer to basketball season. I know a lot of people are excited about that. Basketball teams been out at the football games supporting their teams. Indiana. Here's also a funny stat that I realized simply by going through my parking passes, which are already half gone. Indiana's season is only 25%. They're only 25% into their season, but they are 50% into their home games.
Wow. They only had
That means,
oh
that
yeah,
means
they did play Illinois at home. Yeah.
of their 9 remaining games, 6 of them are on the road.
Whew. That's not good.
At Cincinnati, at Rutgers,
At Nebraska.
at Michigan State, at Nebraska. I'm forgetting the rest of them. So, but it'll be tough.
Oh, they play 7 home games. They have Purdue at home, they have Penn State at home, they have Michigan at home, and they have Maryland at home.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
5.
They have 7 home, 5 away.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Well, there you go. How about
Are you
that?
sure about that?
Yeah, because when you said that, I just went and looked because I didn't think that sounded right.
It doesn't sound right. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Damn, he's right.
There you go.
He's mad. The producer came in and took everything away
He's
again.
right. No, he's right. Damn it.
You were close.
I'm
I
like the
thought I'd
guy
looked-
from Pardon the
I
Interruption.
thought I looked at that and oh well.
30.
Well, it's been a fun day as always. Can't thank Dustin enough. Dustin Schutte from theoutsider.com always joins us as our co-host each day. Appreciate him so much. Dustin Schutte from Bloomington Herald Times. Thank him as well. John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. And we look forward to getting to do this again tomorrow. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Heading to the Tom Allen presser. And until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.